Good afternoon, everyone. Calling the meeting of the Recycled Water Committee to order of Monterey One Water here on Monday, September 23rd, 2024. It's 3:02 p.m. We have 3 members of the committee present. We have a quorum. And so I'll ask for a roll call.
Coast, Veranda, Monterey,
Here.
Castroville,
Here.
Pacific Grove.
Here. And at this time, I'll ask for any additions to the agenda. Anyone?
No additions.
Okay, we have no additions to the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
To approve the agenda. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. And agenda is approved as stated. Go ahead and move on to general public comment. This will be public comment on items not appearing on the agenda today, and then one of the items appearing is the Cal-Am item. So that shall not be taken at this time. This is general public comment. Thank you. I'll recognize Mr. Tilley.
Well, given that last caveat, thank you, Mr. Smith. I did want to speak in general about the role of Tom Moore and his voting on substantial matters. May I make that in general comment at this point?
I don't think that's really related to 14. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I think in general, there's a wide consensus, wide knowledge that Tom Moore should recuse himself from votes that impact any sort of business with Cal-Am, California American Water. And that's because he's a long-term board member at Marina Coast Water District, first serving there in 1994, meaning that he has for decades been involved in their work with Cal-Am, be it good work or be it lawsuits. Mr. Dr. Moore should be disqualified because of that long-standing bias against the water supply project and Cal-Am in general. Marina Coast has filed multiple lawsuits attempting to block the water supply project, with 2 cases scheduled to go to trial this year. Marina Coast also opposes the project in administrative proceedings at the Public Utilities Commission. Marina Coast nor Dr. Moore can be impartial and has a financial interest in the outcome of any proceedings related to the water supply project. They cannot participate in these sort of matters. That should be evident to everybody. In addition, Dr. Moore has demonstrated his own extensive bias against Cal-Am and the water supply project, included in articles, social media posts, and speaking engagements. Dr. Moore's 2020 campaign website even noted that he would continue to oppose the water supply project until either the project dies or Cal-Am moves the slant walls away from the CMEX property and north of the Salinas River. To ensure this committee and the M1W board provide a fair hearing on this matter, Marina Coast and Dr. Moore should and must recuse. Thank you very much for allowing me to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Tilley. Anyone else in the chamber today like to make a general public comment? Seeing none, we'll ask, I'll ask you to look for any attendees with hands raised in the digital waiting room.
See any raised hands from the public?
Okay, general public comment is now closed for this meeting of the committee, and we'll move on to item 6, approval of the Recycled Water Committee minutes. Approval. Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. I generally do not for the minutes, but I don't think it's required. If I'm wrong, and Jim, then let me know and we will take it out to the public. Okay, passes unanimously. We'll move on to item 7.
Good afternoon, Chair Smith and members of the committee. Jennifer Gonzalez, CIP Manager. The final effluent flow meter project will include installation of an underground structure to meter combined effluent flows to our outfall from within the regional treatment plant. The structure will be located near the entrance to the treatment plant on our outfall. In 2022, staff originally bid this project, but received only 1 bid at that time. Due to the high cost and lack of other bids, the bids were rejected so that the project could be modified, rebudgeted, and bid at a later date. In July of this year, the project was released for bids. On July 10th, 5 potential bidders attended a mandatory pre-bid meeting, and on July 31st, 3 bids were received. Staff asks that the Recycled Water Committee recommend that the board award a construction contract to Monterey Peninsula Engineering for the final effluent flow meter project in the amount of $3,260,000. with a 10% contingency for a total of $3,586,000. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for the report. We'll go out to the public for any comment on item 7. I don't see anyone in the chamber. Is anyone online wishing to comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for questions and discussion.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion by Committee Member Williamson, Vice Chair Williamson, and a second by Director Stefani. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for roll call or a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Move on to item 8.
Item 8 is a follow-up to item number 7. This is for the engineering services during construction for the same project for the final effluent flow meter. We began additional design work for the structure in 2022. It was put on hold and awaited funding. Actually, over the 2-year period that we waited to put this back out to bid, we actually saved about $1 million by bidding it again. So that's a great thing. We're coming to you with the contract for engineering services during construction. It will include review of submittals, contractor requests for information, developing any necessary design changes, attending biweekly meetings, et cetera. And then finally, preparation of record drawings. Staff asks that the Recycled Water Committee recommend approval of a contract with E2 Consulting Engineers for engineering services during construction for the CP 332 final effluent flow meter project for a not to exceed amount of $159,550. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We'll check with the public for in the digital realm for comment. Anyone online? Okay, go ahead and there's no one else in chambers that's wishing to speak. We'll go ahead and bring it back to the committee for discussion and action.
Quick question. Could you describe, excuse me, where the savings came from in regards to that?
In rebidding it, we had 3 contractors instead of 1 this time. So that original bid was about 4.2 million. There was competition this time, and so we saw pretty big savings.
That's awesome. And with inflation. That's awesome.
Yes.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve. Second.
Thank you very much. We have a motion by Vice Chair Williamson and a second by Director Stefani. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, go ahead and take a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Ms. Gonzalez, move on to item 9. You're still up.
All right, thank you. Over the history of our agency, biosolids from the treatment processes have been taken to the regen facility next door for disposal. Due to changing state regulations, organics will no longer be able to be disposed in the same quantities after January 1st, 2025. Staff released a request for proposals in May to solicit qualified firms for wastewater biosolids hauling and disposal services. 2 proposals were received and evaluated based on experience, qualifications, understanding of our needs, and methods of management, as well as cost considerations. Contract services will include pickup of our biosolids at the regional treatment plant, transport to an off-site facility, management, and disposal. A staff committee unanimously chose Synagro West LLC as the preferred service provider due to their 45 years of experience in this industry. They are also the largest provider of biosolids management services in North America, and they have experience in the beneficial reuse market for biosolids products. M1W will continue to truck a portion of our biosolids to the regen site at an increased cost of $60 per ton. It was previously $42 per ton. We will be limited to 1,947 tons of disposal at the regen facility. And what that is a 75% reduction from our 2014 levels of disposal by state law. The remainder of our biosolids will be trucked by Synagro at $86.17 per ton to begin with a quarterly negotiation for fluctuating fuel costs based on a federally published index. Staff will work to dry the biosolids as much as possible to minimize the weights that need to be disposed of. Due to the anticipated required introduction of food waste to our system later this year, our total biosolids is anticipated to increase at an as yet to be determined rate. Staff asks that the Recycled Water Committee recommend that the board award an agreement for biosolids hauling to Synagro West LLC to provide hauling and disposal services of our biosolids for 3 years from October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2027, with the option for 2 one-year extensions through September 30th, 2029 in the not to exceed total amount of $1.3 million in year 1. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions on? Go ahead and take it out to the public, digital public comment. Anybody on item 9? Okay, seeing no one in the audience wishing to speak, I'll go ahead and bring it back to the board for action and discussion.
Move approval. Second.
Motion by Director Stefani, second by Vice Chair Williamson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Ms. Gonzalez, and you're still up, number 10.
3 more.
3 more, huh?
3 more.
All right.
Right. Item number 10, staff has been working with TJC and Associates since 2019 on the design of upgrades to the RTP electrical service. The project has been put on the shelf several times due to funding, but earlier this year, the plans were submitted to PG&E for design and review of the PG&E service to our facility. PG&E reviewed our request and submitted a contract for design services and installation of new equipment on their side of the meter that's required for our project. The cost of this contract, including the equipment and installation, is covered in the CP 310 budget for this fiscal year. Staff asks that the Recycled Water Committee recommend that the board approve a contract with PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric Company, for $255,280.16 for the CP 310 project. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We'll go out to the digital public comment to see if there's anyone that wishes to speak on item 10. Seeing none and no one in audience here wishing to speak live, I will go ahead and turn it back over to the board for bring it back for discussion and action.
I just have a quick question. Do we anticipate this equipment lasting another 40 years? Is that kind of generally?
Yes.
Go ahead and move approval.
I'll second. I seem to remember the switchgear thing from a long time ago, but I'm glad that we're continuing to do all this infrastructure work. So we have a motion on the floor by Director Williamson, second by Director Stefani. Any additional discussion? Okay, I'll take it for a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And no one opposed. Any opposed? No. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Go to item 11.
All right, I'm up again.
You're up again. Okay.
Again, I'm pinch hitting for Tom on this
Okay.
one. Staff has been working with Carollo Engineers and their electrical engineering subconsultant, TJC, since 2022 on the design of the Monterey Pump Station and Seaside Pump Station upgrades projects. The project includes a replacement of the PG&E electrical service, both primary and secondary distribution. The project plans were submitted to PG&E as part of our new electrical service application. PG&E reviewed the project plans and developed a design for new electrical service to Monterey Pump Station. Attached is the resulting contract for design services and installation of the new equipment, very similar to the last item that you just approved, but this is for Monterey Pump Station. It will be for an upgraded electrical service up to their side of the meter for Monterey Pump Station. The cost of the contract is covered in the CP 330 budget for this fiscal year. Staff asks that the Recycled Water Committee recommend that the board approve a contract with PG&E for $265,749.49. And I'm here to answer any questions. And actually, I also want to say that next month we will be coming back to you requesting a similar approval of contract for the Seaside Pump Station as in the same general range of costs.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you very much. We'll take it out to the digital public for comment. Item 11. Seeing none and no comment in the building here, bring it back to the board for discussion and action.
I think we made the right choice by making Monterey go first, so thank you for that. I'll move approval. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Williamson and a second by Director Stefani. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, go ahead and call for a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you very much for the work on this. All the way up to item 12 here.
Right, it's me again. Staff has been working with TJC and Associates since 2019 on the design of upgrades to the RTP electrical service, which we just talked about the PG&E contract for. The project has been amended several times, including most recently in June when I came to you for additional work being requested by agency staff. This most recent addition is the result of a request to include the replacement of the RTP emergency generator in the project. We had anticipated doing it separately ourselves, and we have realized that we need to do more work than we had previously thought. Due to recent issues with the outdated generator controls and concerns about reliability of the 20-year-old generator, staff requested that TJC include the procurement of the new generator and all of the associated controls as part of this project when we do the upgrade to the 21 kV switchgear. This will result in a more seamless transition when the plant loses and regains commercial power. The cost of this contract is covered in the CP 310 budget for this fiscal year. And so staff requests that the Recycled Water Committee recommend that the board approve a contract amendment number 4 with TJC and Associates for design of the CP 310 plant electrical switchgear project for a not to exceed amount of $151,310 for a total contract amount of $833,208.47. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for the committee? Mr. Gilpin, I see you turn your camera on. Would you like to make any comment here?
No, I just thought I'd show up, Nick. Jai and I were having technical difficulties and she cleared me for watching the meeting, so. Thanks.
Okay, gotcha. All right, we'll go take it out to the public online on item 12 here. We're working on switch gears. Okay, seeing no public comment, bring it back to the board for discussion and action.
Approval. Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Director Stefani, second by Vice Chair Williamson. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, we'll take it to a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Go ahead and go to item 13.
Good afternoon, Chair Smith and members of the committee. I'm Allison Imamura, Principal Engineer. Pure Water Monterey has complied with our water quality permits since commencing operations. However, staff continues to seek ways to reduce chemical and energy use and maintenance requirements and thus save money. Since 2018, Trestle Technologies has been a key team member in these efforts. Staff would like to continue to rely on experts at Trestle this fiscal year, including for the efforts listed in the staff report to improve influent water quality and save money. The cost of the contract amendment is included in the Department 58 Pure Water Monterey Fund budget for fiscal year 25. With that, staff is requesting that the Recycled Water Committee recommend to the board a contract amendment with Trestle Technologies for water quality and treatment optimization in a not to exceed amount of $224,760 for a total contract amount of $1,555,731. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. We'll take it out to the public for comment on item 13, Trussell Technologies contract. And seeing no one here or online, bring it back to the board for discussion and action.
Approval. Second.
Thank you very much. Motion by Vice Chair Williamson, second by Director Stefani. And appreciate Trussell coming in and help us on the various things. Take it for a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And now we're on to item 14. Consider recommending authorizing staff to submit a report of waste discharge to the Regional Water Quality Control Board to amend NW1's National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit related to the Monterey Peninsula Water Supply Project desalination brine discharge. And I will turn it over to Mr. Thompson.
Yes, good afternoon, committee members. I'm Director of Engineering, Matt Thompson. California American Water Company has been planning a seawater desalination facility for many years to increase water supply for the Monterey Peninsula. Cal-Am intends to locate the facility near the Monterey 1 water treatment plant and ocean outfall because it would like to dispose salty brine from the desalination process into our ocean outfall. Monterey 1 Water entered into an agreement with Cal-Am in September 2023, about a year ago. That agreement anticipates Monterey 1 Water staff will do the engineering work to determine what modifications to the outfall are needed to accommodate the brine discharge, evaluate the feasibility of those modifications, and then apply for the regulatory permits needed to modify the outfall and discharge the brine into the ocean. One of the most important permits is an amendment to Monterey 1 Water's National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit for discharge of wastewater to the ocean by the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board. The application for such an amendment is called a report of waste discharge. Monterey 1 Water engineering staff, primarily Bob Holden, has been working diligently on this for many months, and the report of waste discharge is now ready for your consideration. The report of waste discharge is included with staff report. We are recommending the committee and board consider submitting the report of waste discharge to the Water Quality Control Board. Although we are recommending submittal of the report of waste discharge, it is important to note that staff from the Water Quality Control Board and the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary have expressed concerns about the completeness of the environmental analysis for the outfall modifications and discharge. Monterey 1 Water staff also has some concerns. Can you display slide 1, please? When the project was originally conceived in 2013 to 2018, the outfall modifications were limited to replacing 129 horizontal diffusers at the end of the outfall with new angled diffusers to elevate the relatively heavy brine up off of the seafloor. This exhibit is a cross section of the ocean outfall showing what one of the new angled diffusers would look like. The new angle diffuser is the exhibit in the upper right corner of this slide here. After several, slide 2, please. After several modifications to the desalination project, other outfall modifications to the may be needed to help ensure the dense brine is properly diluted in the ocean water above the outfall and does not sink and harm marine life on the seafloor. These include 41 new angled risers and a large pressure relief structure at the end of the outfall. This exhibit is showing the additional modifications that have become necessary since 2023 when Monterey One Water entered the agreement with Cal-Am. These additional modifications were not fully or accurately described in the original project description, thus were not considered as part of the project's environmental impact report and environmental impact statement. The Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary and Water Quality Control Board have recently questioned whether the EIR is adequate for these additional modifications. We will be meeting with these agencies on September 27th and October 4th to discuss these questions and concerns. Monterey One Water staff also has concerns about the feasibility of construction and impacts of the additional outfall modifications. We communicated these concerns to Cal-Am in a letter dated September 16th. That letter is attached to the staff report. In summary, we're concerned about the impacts of installing additional angled diffusers, the constructability and function of the large pressure relief structure, the impacts and risks of the proposed brine mixing structure, and the feasibility of lining the land portion of the outfall pipe. Next slide, please. This exhibit is showing the proposed pressure relief structure. This is very conceptual. It's kind of cartoonish, but because the design of this is not complete. But this is the pressure relief structure that's proposed at the end of the outfall. The way it would work is because the additional angle diffusers would create more back pressure on the pipe. And so the idea is that whenever flow in the outfall exceeds 25 million gallons per day, the structure at the right, there's a feature at the top that would basically release that high flow and relieve pressure on the inside of the pipe and thus, protect the integrity of the outfall pipe. We should note it would have been possible to eliminate the need for the additional outfall modifications if the desalination facility had included a larger brine equalization basin. This would enable pulsing of the larger flows of brine into the outfall and help elevate the brine above the seafloor. This is an example of a project alternative that we would like to see evaluated as part of some additional environmental analysis. So, go
Sorry,
back to
quick-
slide 2, please.
Quick question.
Vice Chair Williamson.
Last slide or the previous, the click to join audio is blocking the text.
It is.
Sure if there's a.
Yeah, I'll summarize what that says. It's this pressure relief structure is fairly heavy structure that would require a foundation slab. So they would have to bring in a precast slab of concrete to embed in the seafloor. And then they would mount the pressure relief structure on top of that concrete slab. Okay. All right. Back to slide 2, please. So although staff is concerned about the additional outfall modifications, we remain committed to providing cooperative water solutions. So we are recommending you consider going ahead with submitting the report of waste discharge to the Water Quality Control Board. We anticipate you may have questions, so the experts are here to answer. Bob Holden can answer questions about the outfall modifications, and Allison Imamura is available if you have any questions about state and federal environmental review processes. That's all for me. I think we'd be glad to answer any questions.
And just, Matt,
Yeah,
I wanted to
thank you.
mention the letter we received from Calum on the 19th that I think you hopefully all have. It is sort of in response to our letter to them and identifies the 6 or so issues that we had in the letter. So hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at that. And then one last thing I was hoping you could expand on before the board discusses the 27th and then October 4th meeting. Why 2 meetings?
Yes, well, there's a lot to address. The first meeting on September 27th, is going to be focused on the adequacy of the environmental documents. See, those original environmental documents were prepared some years ago, before there was a lot of detailed design of the outfall modifications. And so they would like to discuss that. On October 4th, it will be a more broad discussion about a variety of issues, including timing for moving ahead with this NPDES permitting process. One of the requirements of the agencies is to prepare a marine life mortality study. That's necessary for the water board to make a determination for a particular section of the water code as part of their NPDES permit. And so we'll be discussing a wider variety of issues on October 4th. And these will involve a variety of agencies, including the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. So we've asked CalAM staff to participate in those meetings so that they can hear directly and engage with the regulatory staff.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Committee members, any clarifying questions at this time before I take it out to the public? Okay. We'll go ahead and take public comment in-house first.
Is it this one? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Lacey Carruthers. I'm the Director of Engineering at California American Water. CalAM appreciates M1W staff's ongoing collaboration in preparing the proposed permit application to submit to the Regional Water Board. Our team has been working closely with your staff, Bob here, appreciate his help, and their consultants for almost a year now in order to prepare the application that is before you today. And I want to emphasize our common understanding. Additional analysis of the outfall modifications is needed, which is exactly what the Regional Water Board is going to do once the application is submitted. They are the experts. We anticipate that the Regional Water Board will have questions. They may suggest modifications, and we understand that they will evaluate both mitigation options and alternatives as part of their CEQA review process. And the outfall modifications proposed by the consultants are only one potential approach they found feasible. M1W is not being asked to approve that approach at this point. Far from it. The request is to submit the application to the regional board so their expert staff and consultants can evaluate it. As your staff will confirm, by submitting this application, M1W is not committing itself to modify the outfall in any way. That would happen later if and when the regional board approves a permit and M1W enters into a lease or other agreement concerning the outfall modifications with CalAM. I also want to recognize that the outfall is essential infrastructure for M1W's mission. We share your commitment to safe and reliable service and respect the importance of the outfall in your operations. CalAM respectfully requests that this committee recommends that your full board authorize staff to submit the proposed application to the regional board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment in-house? Okay, we'll go ahead and check online to see if there's any additional public comment online for the CalAM item. Seeing none, bring it back to the board for discussion and action. Director Stefani.
CalAM answered it. Who has the authority to require new environmental work? It sounds like it's the Central Coast Regional Board, right? So if we don't submit the application, how are we gonna find out?
I think that's part of the, well, true, but I think that's also part of the meetings on the 27th and October 4th. There's, in your package here, there's a couple of emails that are just questioning it. So that's why we brought it to the forefront, because you, the board, hadn't seen this before. That was the entire reason, is just to be transparent in all the information that we've been receiving. Matt, would you like to expand on that?
Yeah, the lead agency for the California Environmental Quality Act process for this project has been the California Public Utilities Commission, I think working closely with Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary.
Right.
So in theory, if additional CEQA analysis is needed, the same lead agency would do that. The water board, we are not the lead agency for the purposes of CEQA compliance. But being our infrastructure, I think it's reasonable for us to ask for additional analysis. Yeah.
So
CPUC will be at these meetings too?
no, they are the CPUC.
Yes,
Oh, that's a new one.
yes.
Coastal Commission will be there as well.
Yes, yeah, yes. These
So-
these are the new.
Sounds like we're moving in the right.
So the one on September 27th will include the sanctuary, the CPUC, the environmental firm ESA that wrote the EIS for the CPUC, the regional board, as well as CalAm and the DeSteffi Associates, their current CEQA people. So that, yeah, quite a group.
Director Williams?
So I'm just wondering, other impacts. I know that, for an example, Marina Coast has expressed interest in wanting to use the outfall. And so how are these other potential projects in alignment with the effort for us to move forward today? How does that, what are the impacts with that?
I'll start off on this one. So Marina Coast, you're absolutely right, has expressed an interest. We received a letter from them saying they would like to access the outfall for disposal of brine as well. We have not moved forward with an agreement like we have with CalAm and the negotiating agreement at this point. In terms of the end result of this project, I'm not sure what limitations that would or would not have on future projects coming into the system, whether it be Marina Coast, and I'm sure you've heard of others, like at the GSA was thinking of a brackish water treatment. We don't know the impact specifically on whether future projects would be allowed or not based on the capacity and discharge at the outfall. So there are a bunch of unknowns here. Marina Coast, I have been talking to Rem about their project, and he understands we need to get together and have an agreement done so we can go down the path of understanding what their discharge is.
Would it be helpful or a better regional collaborative effort to look at an analysis that incorporates all that as opposed to piecemealing?
I guess number one, I'd prefer you didn't use that word, but possibly, but that would be a much greater cost because that scope all of a sudden is huge.
Sure.
I mean, what Bob and the consultants have been doing with CalAm, there's a lot of variables there as well in terms of the amount of brine that's coming in or not and what our discharge is.
Right.
When you start adding the potential for a Marina Coast discharge or a potential for a brackish water treatment plant, which my understanding could be 30 million gallons a day. There's so many variables out there. I think it's going to be hard to come to a specific conclusion. What we can say is prior to this agency committing to anything or anyone, you, the board, can certainly ask us to take a high level view of what those impacts may be. Because do you want to preclude other water supply projects from coming into the outfall or not? But once again, I can't even fathom on how much that would cost from a study perspective. And both my very experienced engineers are looking at me and not commenting, so it's fair to say that it's an unknown number at this point.
So part of the problem is that those other projects we're talking about are not actually projects yet. They haven't started the CEQA process. And so they're not defined. And so there's really no way to say how they would be affected.
But if we had like a pre-design for both, a study could be done to estimate discharges and how that would interact with ours as well as CalAm's.
Yes, we could.
And I'm assuming that, let's say we decide to move forward, if the board decides to move forward with this, then if we do get a project proposed by Marina, that they would cover the costs associated with the impact that has to our staff and our agency.
I would presume that, when we negotiate with Marina or the GSA, it would be in the same context as with Cal-Am. Obviously, with Marina Coast, they're a member entity, so things might look a little different. But yes, the same provisions would be requested.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm kind of I'm seeing the recommended action, but I'm also hearing a lot about these meetings that are on the horizon here in the next week and a half or something. So, what would there be a benefit to waiting to hear about some of these meetings before we move forward with this particular action that has been placed as a recommendation on the report?
So, in my opinion, it would further inform the board's decision, frankly. And Matt said that the 27th is specific to the EIR. So hypothetically, the regional board and Marine Sanctuary says, no, you're fine, move forward. Well, then we have a good indication that our application would be complete and would move forward. So no harm, no foul. However, if there's further discussion with the CPUC in the room, which I didn't realize, which is wonderful actually, and they say, no, it's not adequate, you need to dive in and do a bunch more environmental work that could take X amount of years. I guess if we submit this, the regional board, I'm assuming, would deem the application incomplete because the environmental work was not done to their requirements. Even though they would not be the lead agency, it would be the CPUC, presumably. Is there any other? Is that fairly balanced?
Yeah, fairly balanced.
Lacey, do you have any comments to that? Just want to make sure we get it all on the table.
Yeah, I think.
Would you mind? Just people online.
As I said in my comments earlier, once we submit to the regional board, then this starts the process of everyone making their decisions. So this is M1W not committing to anything. It's just letting us submit the application to the regional board so that agencies can look at it and we can start the conversation of, is it incomplete? Is it not? Is it complete? That moving forward. But until we submit, we don't have answers, right?
Well, we would have an indication on the 27th, hopefully, one way or the other on the incomplete thing. But we don't have, you're right, the full answer.
Any questions, committee members of our panel or our commenter?
Distinguished panel.
Yes, panelist.
Regional
Or
board
the
gonna be
committee.
At the meeting on the 27th?
Pardon me?
Is the regional board going to be at the meeting on the 27th?
Yes,
Yeah.
they called the
I-
meeting. Yes.
Excellent.
I mean, it's great that we have this meeting with so many players. I just wish it was like a week ago.
Yeah. Well, I just, my fear is that if we recommend this and then you're just going to come, when you bring the item forward, you're going to talk about all these meetings that are like 4 days, like we had a meeting on the 27th and then on the 30th, you'll know that, but that's 3 days before. So
Then
you have
we'll
to
have to-
analyze it in a weekend in between. And then on the Friday after, they'll have another meeting, which will then not be done. So we're kind of like, the timing of the meetings is not great for this particular endeavor, I don't think, but from what I can see, it's a very complex issue, obviously. So I don't know what my colleagues are thinking up here as far as the three of us. But if we make this recommendation, then we're gonna get some information on the 27th, but then that's a Friday, I think.
Yes.
Then you got 2 days in the middle, which is a weekend. Then we'll
have
be here in the
one
meeting that night, so I don't know how that's gonna work out.
Well, yeah. Is it possible to, if there's an agreement on the meeting on Friday, is it possible for the motion to somehow incorporate that? It could go to the board if there's agreement from that discussion, but if there are issues that we hold off on bringing this to the board until we can further work out some of the outstanding issues. Is that a possible? And that might be a Jim question.
That's it. Yeah, Mr. Gilpin, did you hear that particular question?
I did. I think Tyler's asking if you push this forward to the board, can you consider information made available to the board? Is that the gist of it?
Yeah, if the meeting on Friday is if there are concerns raised at the meeting on Friday that we delay, but if everybody is on the same page in regards to moving forward, then we can have this issue go ahead and move forward to the board agenda. I guess I can see the issue though, because the agenda will be coming out.
And not only that, but then we won't know exactly what it could be nuanced, findings or made at the meeting, and it's not gonna be like findings, it's like a more of a nuanced result, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine that we're going to receive anything in writing from the meeting prior to the board meeting.
Maybe-
And you're absolutely right. The agenda, the packet, we're going to try to get it out tomorrow. Close of business. It might come out Wednesday.
Before Friday though.
Yes, well before Friday.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I mean, I don't know what Director Stefani thinks. I'd be in favor of potentially delaying this until we can get the information from those two meetings.
I'm not in agreement with that. I think this needs to get to the board. Do you want to delay it to go to the board?
I'm just saying, I don't know. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
trying to discuss it. I'm not sure.
Let's get the information at the board meeting and the board can make the decision.
Okay,
whether to move forward or not. I mean,
okay.
there's only 3 of us here,
Yeah, no, it's true.
We voted 2-1. I don't even know if that's a legal vote.
Okay, I'm amenable to moving it to the board.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just want to make sure that we have all the ducks in a row before we try to push some stuff forward here. But
Yeah,
I mean, it seems pretty clear that the discussion on Friday is a determination on how things are going to move forward. And I guess I'm hoping that the board is in agreement or in alignment with what we're hearing today, that if there's some concern around how to move forward, I mean, I'm assuming that the meeting on Friday, they're still not going to have, if there are concerns expressed, that those concerns aren't going to be in writing ready for our board meeting on Monday evening. So I guess I'm just concerned about an effort to try to continue to push something forward that may have some outstanding issues. And my hope is that our board would be in alignment with that. So
I mean, we could also alternatively we could just push the item to the board for decision without any recommendation, right?
Well, it is so it's consider recommending. Oh, that's a good point, because it's consider recommending authorizing staff to submit and bring that to the full board. So you can just say, have this item heard.
Yeah.
At the board meeting without the committee's recommendation. Is that a fair statement, Jim?
Yes, I
At
think
least
that's
it's
what can
moving
happen.
forward.
And I thought that's what I heard Director Stefani say. You don't have to make a recommendation coming out of here. You just move it forward to the board, even though the agenda is being posted tomorrow. Obviously, staff can provide an updated report at the meeting based on what occurs at the meeting on the 27th. And the board can consider that and make a decision.
Okay.
Or not, it can table it.
Right, and I think that's fair. I mean, the board has to make the decision anyway, whether we recommend or not, so I think that's fair. That would be fine with me, if you're okay with that, Director Stefani. Okay, so the motion would just be to move the item to the board for full consideration.
Yeah, public comment.
Oh, did we
I
get?
think we already took.
Yeah,
public
I
comment.
took them both, yeah. So, I can make that motion. Have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, a second by Director Stefani. Any additional discussion, Vice Chair Williamson? Okay, take it, do a roll call vote on that.
Yes.
Monterey,
Yes.
Pacific Grove.
Yes.
That's 3 yes and 2 absent.
All right, thank you very much, everyone, for participating online and in the audience. And we'll go ahead and move on to staff reports.
Thank you, Chair Smith. So just a couple things real quick. I assume you're going to talk about the incident at Seaside Pump Station.
I can do it.
Let me just go over last week was the California Water Reuse Conference, and excuse me, in Monterey, One Water was well represented. Mike did a couple presentations. Rachel did a presentation. Allison was moderating a panel. So it was a good conference. We also, Matt, Rachel, and I took that opportunity while we were down there to go to the Victor Valley wastewater reclamation facility and the East Valley Water District Sterling Recovery Center,
Natural resources.
Natural Resource Center, to see some different technology that we're looking at on the energy side of things in terms of bringing food waste in the digesters, the mixers, gas conditioning, et cetera. So it was very worthwhile, I thought. And it was nice to see some of our peers that are pushing the envelope on energy production and frankly getting to be self-sufficient. So that was great. Do you guys want to tag team on a?
Yeah, I'll let Matt talk about the seaside. I'll just talk about, there was an incident over the weekend on Saturday at Pacific Grove. There was a sewer leak. However, it was on the Pacific Grove side. Our staff were on site and we were supporting their efforts. They brought MP to come excavate and look for the break. It was actually a few holes in the pipe and they did get it fixed in the middle of the night. We had our people there manning pump station 16. So really appreciate them working through the night. And then now I'll pass it over to Matt.
Yeah, just adding to what Paul mentioned about the water reuse conference, we also use the water reuse conference as an opportunity to do some outreach to engineering firms. You may recall during approval of the capital improvement program, one of the line items in that capital improvement program is to prepare a master plan for a comprehensive upgrade of the regional treatment plant. So you need to get clarity about what kind of process it will be and how much it will cost and when you realistically can do the big construction project. So we released that request for proposals last week. And again, we took the opportunity to get the word out to engineering firms. The idea is we want to get some of the best wastewater engineering firms in California interested in preparing that master plan for us. The next update relates to, I'm sure you've heard about it because it made the news, was the incident on Wednesday afternoon at the Seaside Pump Station. This is at the west end of Bay Street, highly visible from Highway 1. It's that pump station that has a very large surge tank that to the common person might look like a fuel tank, right? But it's not a fuel tank. The purpose of the surge tank is to sort of handle the fluctuations in pressure when the pumps turn on and off. And so we have a contractor at the Seaside Pump Station doing extensive upgrades to that pump station, including replacing the valve that is used to isolate the surge tank, replacing the valve that is used to drain the surge tank. They're going to get inside the surge tank and clean it out and recoat the interior. It's this big steel structure. Has a lot of life remaining in it. Well, in the process of accessing the inside of that tank, our contractor Mountain Cascade, they broke the seal on a manway and it allowed the methane gas that's inside the tank to kind of spill out at the same time that they had decided to cut one of the bolts holding the manway in place with a metal cutting saw. It was generating a lot of sparks. So they noticed this, the residual amount of methane gas inside the tank on fire. So they quickly evacuated the site. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. We had a very large response from local emergency services. I think there were 6+ engines present. It was a sight to behold. They were up on ladder trucks, essentially dousing the surge tank to keep it cool because, you know, if it would have been a fuel tank, it was really important to keep that full so it doesn't pressurize and create a bigger problem, right? Thankfully, there was only a limited amount of methane inside the tank. It actually did not get very hot. In fact, the fire department deployed drones with thermographic imaging. And I had told you that staff of the contractor had quickly evaluated the site. They had evacuated the site. They had evacuated so quickly that they had left a truck running adjacent to the surge tank. And it was interesting, the drone image, the thermographic imaging, the truck was actually at a higher temperature than the surge tank. So I say all of that to say that we haven't yet done a detailed analysis of the potential damage to the surge tank, but we're hopeful because of the low temperatures of this combustion event that there's not actually structural damage to the tank. We're planning to recoat the interior as part of this project anyways, but after we get some more detailed analysis of the surge tank, we'll have more information for you. But the very next day, we had a very large meeting with all of the contractors representatives, all of our construction managers representatives. And Tammy and I emphasized how important it is for this this contractor to have all their safety procedures in place and for all of the people that work for them to follow those safety procedures. This was a case where they did actually have safety procedures. They just had one person who essentially deviated from those procedures, but they are back to work. In fact, they worked on it starting again on Friday. While we were doing this work, we have a pumped bypass system that's moving the sewage around the surge tank and the force main so they could do work on it. So it's very important that we get this mechanical work done before the beginning of the wet season. So that's why we allowed the contractor to resume work actually the very next day, because we're in somewhat of a hurry to get all of this work done by the middle of October. So I'd be glad to answer any questions about more questions about the incident.
Any questions?
So
Yes.
really
Go ahead.
quick question, as far as like, if there is an issue with this, the structure, the liability, does that rest with the contractor?
Definitely.
I'm glad to hear everybody's okay too, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Ron?
I think it's just good for us to look at our emergency. From a fireman's perspective, we like to pull up to a gate like that and have the placard showing us exactly what hazards are there. So I don't know if you meet any placard requirements, but if you don't, you need to put something up that says exactly who you are
Yeah.
and what's in your methane gas, period. Because I don't know if you probably don't meet the requirements to have to placard the methane gas, but it would be good to put something up saying this is a sewer transfer surge tank, and because that looks like a high pressure tank from a fireman's perspective. And
Yeah.
when I saw the sticks up, I was going, oh boy, that thing's gonna blow. They're trying to cool it down.
Yeah, I think they thought it was like a blebby, like a large propane tank that's on fire that could become pressurized and literally explode. But again, the manway was open, it was relieving all the pressure. There was a limited amount of gas. But we hear you about the placarding. We'll make sure that it's more clear.
We can do
to
better
emergency
for
service
emergency
providers.
responders coming in.
Yeah, good.
Should
suggestion.
evaluate all of our
Great
pump
call,
stations in that sense, if there's a first responder to know what's there, all that good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great comment. Thank you so much.
We also, the fire department, there's a fire hydrant on site that did not provide water. And so our engineering department's looking into the owner of that, and going forward, they did string 1,400 feet of
2,400 feet.
2,400 feet of hose, which doesn't make a fireman, I'm sure, happy if there was one fairly close by. So we are looking into that, and we'll do what we can to get that to be a viable, working fire hydrant.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the reports. Committee member reports?
I just want to apologize for not being here last week. I know that everybody came out, and just appreciate everybody's flexibility with my absence. So thanks for being here today and adjusting on my behalf.
All right. Thank you very much. Busy time of year, let me tell you, I'm pretty busy myself. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for everything and working through that efficiently today. And again, just as Vice Chair Williamson said, to come out on the Monday, it feels like Thursday to me, but now I got a full week to contend with, so it's not. But any event, thank you online, and we'll see you all in the next one. Meeting adjourned.